Welcome to the TEC Report Podcast, where we help businesses survive, thrive, and create value.
Well, welcome everybody to the TEC Report, the podcast that is all about helping businesses survive, thrive, and create value, especially in our trying environment today. So I'm your host, Brad Stoller. Well, today, I got to tell you, I'm really excited about this episode today. We've got arguably one of the absolute best in the business at making things happen that you've never heard about. So she takes care of all the behind scenes, the due diligence, marketing of our clients' businesses, and she really, really knows her stuff. So her work can absolutely make or break deals. So if you are considering selling or merging your business or practice, you might want to listen up, but she's about to give you some never talked about inside tips on ways that buyers view your business or practice. And you know what that means. You're darn right. Higher valuations and more choices for the best options that fit you. So our guest today is none other than Stephanie Butler. Stephanie is a partner with Transitional Equity Consultants and has been advising business owners through mergers, acquisitions, and business transitions since 1998. So she specializes in helping clients prepare for successful transactions, navigating the due diligence, and maximizing their business value. So just a little thing about Stephanie that you would never know, and she doesn't know I'm doing this, but I'm going to tell you. She's an award-winning homebrewer. Yes, homebrewer. And she serves on the board of directors of the American Homebrewers Association. Let me tell you, this lady can make a mean brew. So she lives in the Kansas City area with her husband, Mike, and together they have 3 children, 2 grandsons, and are extremely excited to welcome another grandchild soon. So Stephanie, welcome to the TEC Report Podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brad. Excited to talk to you as well. Yeah.
Well, Stephanie, let's just dive right in here because she's always busy. So I'm just glad we could get her on here today. So Stephanie, one of the things we hear about all the time is I find a buyer. Woo, the hard part's over. Okay. And you and I are laughing about this, right? So what really happens once a deal is so-called made? What happens?
Right. Well, we really strive to match our buyers and sellers together so that our sellers feel comfortable that they found a good match and that it's someone that can be a partner for them going forward. And so, they've kind of started the dating process. So now, this is where it gets serious. I mean, let's just say an LOI, it's like you're engaged at that point, right? So this is where, all of the information has to be uncovered and discovered and provided and all kinds of knowing about each other. This is where the hard work really starts.
Sounds good. So, I know that, many owners think they'll just organize everything after they receive that letter of intent. In reality, it's just simply too late for that. Buyers move quickly. And, if you're scrambling to gather that information at the last second, it just kind of creates a bunch of unnecessary stress, doesn't it?
It does definitely create some stress. I mean, when we start the due diligence process, I always tell our clients that, be prepared because, this is, it's a gauntlet. It's tough. They'll question everything. They'll ask you for information you didn't even know you needed. Every little nook and cranny, every little thing about your business, it's important because, if you think about the buyer, they don't really know you that well. And so they're investing their time and their resources. They could be looking to buy somebody else, but they chose your company, your business, and they want to be partners with you in the future. So, this is the point where they really need to learn and find out everything there is to know about your business so that it can be successful going forward. So once we get started in the process, we always have that conversation when the first due diligence list comes out, and it's always huge. It's always overwhelming. It's always like, the client calls me and says, oh my gosh, I had no idea it was going to be this difficult. Where am I going to get this information? Most of this doesn't apply, whatnot.
Right.
And, and I'm kind of here to say, don't panic. we can get this figured out. But I guess the purpose of this conversation is to just encourage, potential sellers to think about that process a little bit further in advance and start working on maybe gathering some of that information. Maybe you're not ready to sell today, but you're thinking somewhere in the future that you're ready to sell. And so what we need to do is we need to start gathering that information and start, putting it into digital files, everything from all your contracts that you have, making sure all your contracts are signed, making sure if you have leases for various locations that all of those are signed, all of the addendums are in the file. Just a number of things like that. Just being able to have financials that, tick and tie with everything else that's going on in the business. It's super important, because the last thing that we want to do during the due diligence process is create any sort of doubt.
Right.
And so that's why you have us sort of as the middle person, because we pass along information, and rather than putting our seller out there as being kind of the face-to-face person all the time, where questions might come up, you might feel flustered, we can work through those sort of issues. So
Well,
that's kind of where we come in.
yeah, and I know, we work together, many
Mhm.
times. So you and I have been through a few things here, but a lot of business owners, there's mistakes they make in their books, and they aren't even aware that they're making any mistakes, right? So
Right.
can you share kind of, I don't know, give me kind of an example that, without, obviously don't name anybody because we don't do that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but give us a kind of an example of maybe something that's popped up that, I don't know, maybe just took you for a surprise that anybody could, I don't want to say done something that crazy. I'm being polite here. But
Yeah.
what are some of the things, crazy things, if you had to name a top one or two, I guess,
Yeah.
things that people make mistakes with, what would those be?
Well, I would say one of them that was a big surprise to us is that in looking at financial statements and understanding, I mean, it's got to include everything. Got to include all the expenses of the business. One particular seller, we got pretty far down the road in due diligence and then started comparing payroll reports, which is something that gets requested during due diligence to the financial statements, and discovered, unfortunately, that payroll tax had not been included on their financial statements, which was a big hit to
Oops.
the bottom
Oops.
line. So inevitably that mistake sunk the deal. And that's, something that I guess experience wise now I'm looking out for, asking that question, which seems like, maybe that should have been obvious because that is an expense of the business, but just little things like that, and I think for the most part, our sellers are, they didn't, I mean, they're good at running their businesses and not necessarily, the financial part of it. I mean, that's not really their forte, not necessarily something that they think about every day. And just like kind of working through all those little pitfalls and making sure that, we've got everything accounted for and that we can explain any kind of differences or come up with any kind of solutions and whatnot to move things along.
Yeah, you mentioned something. You just mentioned something that caught my the little red flag went off here. Explaining differences. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that it's important that, like, as we're working forward, I mean, the ebbs and flows of business. I mean, things can be up and down. You can have, you can have a bad month because maybe there was some sort of a billing issue that came up in your business, especially medical practices or other types of businesses where you had a key employee that was missing for a certain amount of time. So just like being able to explain those things and making sure that as the buyer moves forward and looks through those financials, they understand that that's just a blip on the radar and that we have an answer for it. And that's really what we do and work through those issues together.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times where I know you personally have, when you're looking at their books,
Hmm.
uh, and we'll define what is books. What does that even mean? But we'll get back to that in a second. But when you
Yeah.
have their books the way you want, and then you're going through the numbers, and sure you can use AI to help speed things up, but it still boils down to you've got to be responsible for those numbers, right? So you can't just use AI
Right.
anymore. Everybody thinks you
Right.
can. You really can't, can you? So you're kind of responsible for you're kind of people don't know how valuable you really are because you're the one who's going to pick out something if it may never have a clue that
Mhm.
one little line item can really throw a monkey's wrench in the whole deal, can it?
It can. And also sometimes we find things that are to the good side. So,
Right.
that's why it's like super important that we work together and we have a trusting relationship and just understanding that I am our client's advisor and I'm working with you. So, to come up with finding like all those little nuances of the business and figuring out how we can maximize the bottom line and the profit. And if we've already got a deal in place, just making sure that we keep it there, but then also paying attention that as the process goes on, because due diligence can be, anywhere from 90 days to 120 days, hopefully if everything goes well.
Right.
And if things are moving along in the business, let's say, all of a sudden you've got a big new contract. And so we need to get those things, we need to get out in front of that. And we need to be talking about, if that's an increase in valuation, if that's something that we need to bring to buyer's attention and make sure that you get credit for the work that you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I remember you and I worked with an elevator company not too long ago.
We did.
And yes, I remember, I won't mention any names or anything, but
Mhm.
I remember, well, actually, if you go on our website, he did a testimonial so you can hear his story. But
Yeah.
one of his comments was that I didn't really know how hard this is going to be. And thank God I have you guys working on my behalf because I don't know what I would have done. So
Right.
that leads me to my next question here is why should somebody have an advisor such as you and our team involved instead of just trying to handle this process themselves? I mean, why not just do it yourself? They're getting calls from private equity groups or maybe larger
Right.
firms who want to buy them out. Why on earth would they ever want to actually pay money to have somebody like us, at least on a contingency
Right.
basis, pay money? But why not just
Right.
do it themselves?
Well, for one thing, I mean, and you did mention AI at one point, and I mean, I'm not AI, I'm a person. I'm a
Yeah,
person that, understands like what you're going through in the process, and I understand like how difficult it is. I understand that you feel picked on at some point, when there's a lot of questions and wondering, all these little details and whatnot. And we're the person that stands up for you, and we're the person that listens. Like when you have, instead of blowing up, calling the buyer and saying, "Hey, I'm done with this. I'm tired of I'm too busy. I can't get more information put together." I mean, I'm the person that you call and say that to. And I say,
right,
"Okay, let's just take a few days break. We're going to be fine." And just make sure that we slow down the process a little bit to a point where you feel comfortable and that we just move it along at your pace. So, um, as far as using a person too, I mean, just our experience, I mean, using our company, our firm, our experience in doing this, we've done this many, many times. We understand, that while it's probably the first time for you in most cases, for us, we've done it many times, and it's something that, we have good experience and we can help you through the process and make you feel comfortable. And it's really about the relationship because, while what we're trying to do is between you and the buyers, we're trying to build that trust so that you have a good relationship going forward as you turn over the keys to your business somewhat. You're still going to be involved in most cases, and just
right.
making sure that it's something that you feel comfortable with and that you're excited to move into versus, scared, or you feel I guess adversarial. We want to take that out of it. And the emotion is certainly high. um when I mean it's your life's work, it's your baby, it's the most, probably one of the most important financial decisions that you can make is to sell your business, and we want to be there every step of the way to make sure that you feel comfortable and just making sure that you are, covered and you know what's going on. And if you have any questions, you can certainly call us. And that's the nice thing about working from home these days is, we don't have office hours really anymore. So I can, you
Yes.
can, you can text me anytime, you can email me, you can call me, and if you need to talk, we're here to listen and figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. I know some of the things that maybe you're kind of being how do you say um, modest? Maybe that's a great word. What you do really is impacting our customers because I know I've talked to them afterwards, and they're always saying, I had no idea all the stuff, all the documents that these buyers want today.
Hmm.
I don't have time for this. So
Right.
that's where you come in, isn't it?
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So preparing for due diligence, because this is your baby, this is your area, this is where you shine and help our customers shine. But it's not just about checking boxes like the 12 months previous, 12 trailing months, which some of them don't even know what you're talking about. Um, Describe that, how you help the customers kind of get through that due diligence phase when they just keep bombarding and wanting more and more and more and
Right.
more and more. How do you help them?
Right. Well, we definitely help work through and make sure that we're identifying, things that are maybe don't apply to your business. So we can just kind of get on the phone and we can like make a super daunting list. We can cut that down pretty quickly because not everything applies to every business. So that's helpful. And sometimes, you've already provided us that information. So what we will do is, we'll get a list, we'll get a checklist of all the information that they want. We'll organize that and then just work with you to start gathering that information. And it's really, at that stage, I think it's critical. I know it can be scary to talk to your employees and let them know what's going on. And if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. It makes it a little bit tougher on you, a little bit more strain on the owner themselves. But if we can work with your accountants, um, any sort of attorneys or billing people or any sort of outside services that you use to gather that information. That's super helpful. So to start thinking about making those contacts and getting a list of people that we can work with to help ease the stress on you because also, while due diligence is while the due diligence process is going on, guess what you're also doing? You're also still running your business.
Exactly. That's what I hear a lot.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And they're already working 12, 14-hour days. They don't have time for this.
Right. Right. I do
So,
hear that a lot.
yeah, I have noticed people seem to publicly, they will thank you
Hmm.
and they kind of forget about me. I think that goes to the impact that, oh, you're a lifesaver. Exactly.
Right.
So what you do is absolutely critical. So if somebody's listening and really are considering, maybe they haven't thought too much about it, but maybe
Mhm.
maybe this inspires them a little bit to maybe I should be thinking about this.
Right.
So what's their first step? I mean, in getting their business ready to sell as far as the financials.
Well, one thing that we offer is it's a due diligence readiness assessment, and it just goes through a whole checklist of items that you can start thinking about and making sure that you have. I mean, digital copies are fantastic. Start putting those in files, start naming the file, exactly what it is. So, if this is your lease for this address, make sure you have the file name exactly what it is and where, and what the location is, and make sure all of your documents are signed, you have all of your contracts, you have all your financials, you have your tax returns, all kind of in one place. You can just kind of start making your own due diligence file.
Right.
And if you take a look, if you're interested, we can definitely send you the readiness checklist and you can kind of see what it's going to take to get through this process and make it less stressful for you. I can't promise it'll be completely stress free. It always is. There's little things that pop up along the way, but we're here to handle those things. And those things don't worry us. We can get through it together and we can find solutions and just let us do the heavy lifting and hopefully we can be successful together.
Yeah, I know. And you sent over I'm going to call it just a cheat sheet, a checklist, if you will. So I know what we're going to do is we're going to have that available for anybody to download free. There's no charge. All they just have to do is go to our website, and we'll have a little thing they can find it on our front page and download it if they would like.
Yeah,
So thank you for that. So that'll be on our website again at transitionalequity.net. Um, Stephanie, boy, it's hard to believe time flies when you're having fun, but
it does.
we've been on here for a little while. What did we miss? What is something we should have talked about, but we haven't so far? What do you think? Is there anything?
Well, I think that, one of the things that business owners should always think about is like, what are your goals for your business? What do you want to achieve? What's important? I mean, why did you start this business? What do you hope to leave behind when it's over? And, how can we help transition you from being a business owner to being, hopefully a retiree that has plenty of money to do everything that you want to do. So I will leave you with this one thought, because my husband has always said this one thing. He said, before you retire, that you have to have 5 hobbies. So think about what those 5 hobbies might be while you're working through your checklist, and put those 2 things together, and then give us a call, because we're happy to help you, work with you, and answer any questions whatsoever. Whether you decide to work with us or not, just reach out. We're happy to, be a sounding board to you. So thanks a lot for the time, Brad. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think Mike gave us all some good advice, your husband. So, well, Stephanie, thanks for sharing your experience today. I know that our listeners are going to definitely have a better understanding of, there's a little bit more to it than just saying, yes, we'll take the offer. That's just when the work starts. And, having that right advisor can really make a huge difference. So, Stephanie, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the time, Brad.
All right. Well, this is Brad once again for the TEC Report, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right. Cheers.